Hey, welcome to 49ers Coast to Coast. I'm Grant Cohn, joined by someone that used to be a collaborator, but now he's a competitor, writes for Niners Nation. I don't know if we can be cool anymore. Hey, congratulations, Jason.
Thank you, bro.
Congrats, man.
I didn't know how that worked out, but yeah, I appreciate that, man. It's an honor, and I'm absolutely humbled. But yeah, we're definitely not competitors. Stop that.
No, it's great to see people that I work with flourish and take steps in this industry because you guys are doing great. You're doing great.
Yeah. And again, I texted you the other day, and I just wanted to say again, on air, I appreciate you taking a shot on me. A lot of what I have built is due to, weekly appearances with you. And, thank you for believing in me. I appreciate it.
That's part of it. But I think the main thing is that you freaking grind. And there's a lot of people that want to be in the industry and aren't yet and just do it. Like you, Splash Cousin, you just show up to training camp, you go on the road. That's how it's done. And then people take notice, and all of a sudden you're writing for Niners Nation. So people watch what Jason did the last 2 years. If you want to be like Jason, watch what he did the last 2 years and try. You could do it. I mean, Jason's quite charming, so it's hard.
I mean, my mom thinks so. So yeah, I guess that's two people that believe that.
Okay, we're gonna talk about Jimmy Garoppolo, the 53-man roster, Trey, the NFC. We're gonna give the NFC power rankings, kind of, sort of, but we're gonna save that. I want to talk about Jimmy first, and I want to start positive. I don't think many people thought Jimmy be on this team, but he is. And I think people are starting to realize there are some good things about this, if not mostly good things. What do you think is the best thing about keeping Jimmy Garoppolo?
Well, not only did we not believe that he was going to be here, Kyle Shanahan used the term, I was on the conference call yesterday, slim to none. Literally, right. That's what he thought. And that was always my hesitance to it. I was always open to Jimmy Garoppolo being here on a restructured whatever deal, even if it's the highest for a backup. I believe he's the best backup. So, but I just thought that Jimmy Garoppolo would have never said yes to this. Like, why would you do this team a favor? Don't you want to continue your career? But when all options get exhausted, this is what you get. And this is the best case scenario probably for both. So, yeah, what's good about it is I think this is two things. And I'm going to use a three-letter initial and then a four-letter initial. One is PTSD. And that's Kyle Shanahan from watching C.J. Beathard and Nick Mullins have to take meaningful snaps and knowing that Nate Sudfeld and Brock Purdy, that was going to be where you were going to be if something happened to Trey Lance. So that's one. The second is CYA, and it's cover your ass. And this is exactly what this is. Just in case something happens to Trey Lance, it's both of these things combined. Now you have the best backup in football, a guy who can easily slide right in and just go ahead and operate this offense efficiently. And again, not many teams have that. The reason that I say he's the best backup is because I believe that he is a starter in this league. So if I believe he's a starter, how could he not be the best backup? And I'll take that to the bank.
I like the CYA thing. It's like if Kyle had won that Super Bowl in Atlanta, if Kyle had, if he was 10 games over 500, I don't know that Jimmy would be here, but he's not, and he didn't. And so if he just runs Jimmy off and Trey struggles, the team misses the playoffs. I mean, Trey will take a lot of heat, but Kyle will take a ton of freaking heat, and he knows it. And now this sort of puts him off the stove for now. Right. He's off the burner for now. So, yeah, I mean, to me, this feels like this insulates the Niners from having a disaster season where Trey gets hurt and Nate Sudfeld starts all the games. Like, at least that probably – well, Nate Sudfeld's not on the team, so that's definitely not going to happen.
Yeah, that's Lions legend Nate Sudfeld now.
Can you freaking believe that? Why?
I mean, look, Nate Sudfeld's a perfect QB too. Like he's just like, and that's what it is. And most of the time, backups aren't. Yeah, well now,
QB3.
I mean,
well, I know he's QB2 over there.
Yeah, but Purdy did play a little bit better than him, and I won't lie about that. But again, the reason that they make the move from Sudfeld is the $2 million is offset right now with whatever the Lions are going to give him. So if the Lions give him 1.4, they just owe him $600,000.
I get so excited when New York save money. Yes,
right. Yes! And then think about this: if Brock Purdy is sent to the practice squad, then you have to negotiate a whole different contract. You keep him on the 53, and now you have that cost-controlled rookie, even if he's Mr. Irrelevant. So I think that was smart all the way through and through. Who knew? Look at all these smart moves. Look at all these quick, subtle maneuvers that are going on here that are actually we're even both in agreement. It's like, man, this works.
Yeah, see, that's why I had a feeling they were going to keep Jimmy. It just would look stupid to say we're not going to cut him. We're not going to cut him. Actually, we are cutting him right now.
It's true.
And it's like the way they restructured it. He took a pay cut. Keeping him as a $27 million backup was not an option. And I don't think Jimmy's happy about this. I think privately he thought he'd get cut. And the Niners are like, no. You thought you were in control of your destiny. You're not. You're going to be with us this year. And I think they kind of felt like, a lot of people said they're going to do right by Jimmy Garoppolo. I think they felt that he didn't do right by them with that surgery. So, hey, man, like you put us in a tough spot. Now we got to put you in a tough spot. And we're all gonna play it off with a smile on our faces for the cameras, right?
Right. And what I learned is maybe we should start listening to Kyle Shanahan when he speaks, because like you said, like he's been saying the entire time, we're not just going to give him away, anything like that. And they were steadfast on getting something for him and also telling him, we're not going to get rid of you for no reason and let you walk. So maybe we should start listening to him about, Jimmy's the starter. Trey's not going to be able to play this year. I don't think that he's ready. We're going to go. He was saying that the entire time. Boom. Then that's what happens. Now the same thing is happening with this. And maybe we should just start listening to Kyle. As much as we want to decipher what he's saying or listen to his riddles and everything, kind of just says what he means at this point.
That's the way I look at it. I mean, he said it multiple times. John Lynch said it and Jed said it. We're not cutting him. So I was like, I don't see them all lying. And then coming back out after they cut him in a press conference being like, we tricked you. Yeah. We tricked you. You trusted us. Like they're not going to do that. And they didn't.
And I think the league expected that too. So when the league is expecting you to zig, the Niners are going to zag. And I think that's what everybody was kind of waiting for, was just like, well, they got to cut him, right? They got to cut him for this money. But when you work that deal out, $6 million, you're saving all that money in cap space and everything. His dead cap hit, which just came out, is going to be $13 million this year. That is far and away less than what it was going to be. So you still save money and you still opened up the possibility of a trade for another player during the trade deadline, before the trade deadline, that can help your team.
Don't you think Kyle takes pleasure also in the fact that he's telling you exactly what he's doing and people still are like, well, what does Kyle mean by that? He's like,
right.
I just told you again how I feel. And everyone's like, let's interpret Kyle's words. I don't understand how to be more direct. I like that about Kyle. I'm trying to tell you.
Right. Yeah. Like you guys are the ones that are running with the narrative. He always says things like that. And it's absolutely true. And then also like the Mac Jones stuff. It's not my job to stomp out those narratives. I'll let you say whatever it is that you want, and then he's gone on to admit that.
Like he was supposed to be like a month before the draft. No, we're not taking Mac. We're taking Trey Lance. Everyone needs to no. There's a little mystery here that goes on with the draft. It's how 100%. It works. So look, I think it's good that the Niners kept Jimmy Garoppolo. At least it was the best decision at this point. That being said, let's talk about what's not so good about keeping Jimmy Garoppolo. To me, the best move would have been trading him right after they got Trey Lance. You probably could have got a second-round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo. Trey would have more experience. Last year was a wild ride, but ultimately it didn't bring in a Lombardi, so who freaking cares? That's my attitude. So he's here now. Jimmy's here, and it's the best of a bad situation, but it's a little awkward. What do you think is not so good about this situation?
I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to do anything to cause a distraction in any way. He won't say anything wrong. He's not going to do anything wrong. We're not going to be able to say, man, what is Jimmy doing? None of that's going to happen, right?
Because other quarterbacks might. You know what I'm saying? Like,
look at Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield melted down after they hinted at Deshaun Watson, and Jimmy Garoppolo had to sit in the box last year and take all that and say whatever you want. He delivered in that way professionally, even if at the end of the year he spoke about, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. That was hard for him, but he did it professionally. And I have no doubt in my mind that Jimmy's going to continue to do that here. Yeah. The only thing I would say is this. It's not going to be the locker room. I think that Kyle has built a strong enough culture there, and I think that's what he's betting on, that this will not tear this locker room apart, that everybody understands. They've had a conversation between Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo about where they stand. Trey's our guy. Trey's going to have his leash, and the leash didn't get shorter. I disagree with that sentiment, and if you want me to expand on that, I will. But here's what's not so good about it. You have opened the door for not fans, because who cares? Media, right? Media, especially national media. Now national media gets to make segments if Trey Lance struggles for a half or struggles for one game or has a few missed throws to actually come back to this Jimmy Garoppolo thing, because none of them would ever ask for Nate Sudfeld to play. But you got to wonder, they've been talking about how do you move on from Jimmy Garoppolo? He's a winner. Now you've allowed that chatter to grow. Now in the
national media is going to second guess him to death.
To death. And in the media,
would Jimmy Garoppolo have hit this throw? Would Jimmy Garoppolo have seen this? Like Jimmy, would he? All that stuff.
And the media room, let's be frank, people are going to ask questions like that, and people are going to ask George Kittle, "Hey, what's the dynamic between Trey and Jimmy?" Ask Debo, "Hey, man, do you miss Trey and Jimmy?" Like
the questions after games when they lose. Hey, Kyle, why didn't Jimmy play? Why did you think Trey gave you the best chance to? Hey, George, would you like Jimmy to be throwing you the ball? Hey, Debo, your numbers are a little down. Don't you miss playing with Jimmy?
So you've opened up that. So I don't think that that's strong enough to fracture anything in the locker room. I don't think that that's strong enough to shake Trey Lance either. I just want to be honest with that. I think that the kid's ready to go. He understands. But one thing that I will ask of Kyle Shanahan, love you, coach, but I don't want to see you get up there and get mad at any Jimmy questions because you had to weigh this. You had to weigh this when you brought him back. You had to weigh that portion of it because if you didn't, then that's an oversight. I don't want to see you. I mean, I don't know why you guys keep asking questions about it. No.
If that's how you feel, you should have brought in Andy Dalton or something. You know what I'm saying? Because we wouldn't ask about Andy Dalton.
No. I need Kyle Shanahan to take all those questions in stride, answer them, and answer. And if you have to give the same answer every single time, you have to give the same answer
with a smile on your face.
You had to weigh that when you did this Jimmy Garoppolo thing. You know how you free yourself from the discussion? Don't bring him back. Not that I'm saying that he shouldn't have brought him back, but I don't want to see you getting upset now when these questions are asked because you've opened that door and that door's wide open.
Again, you could have traded Jimmy last year, brought in a competent backup who could have just been there, and it wouldn't have been a threat to Trey Lance, and he could have had all this experience, and that's how most teams would develop a young quarterback. You went this way. So there's got to be some type of a fallout. I want to talk real quick about the locker room. I agree with you about the media. He is going to get second guessed to death in the media, but the locker room is complicated because Jimmy, he's the leader still. He was the leader of this team. It's like Derek Jeter going from being the leader to being a backup on the same team. It's awkward. Trent Williams, George Kittle, Debo love him. So Kyle has his own idea of Trey, what the leash should be, and I'm sure Kyle wants Trey to be the quarterback, but let's say they lose week 1. Or let's say they get off to a bad start, and I'm not saying they will. What happens if Debo and Kittle and Trent go to Kyle and be like, you know what? We don't want to lose any more games. We want Jimmy. And Kyle's like, nah, man, that's not – I want to give Trey a little bit. What happens if that – and I'm not saying it will. I think the Niners are going to get off to a hot start. They have a pretty easy schedule right away. But if that happens, that could be a problem because, again, you got Kittle loves Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm sure he's open-minded to Trey. But what is Kittle's leash? Like, what is Kittle's patience and Debo's patience? Because that matters if they all of a sudden need to stand up and have a talk with Kyle. Those things happen early on in the season if it looks like he's getting away from him. Because I don't think anyone was going to go up to Kyle last year like, we got to have Trey. Maybe because Brandon Ayuk doesn't even talk. I'm just saying there are factions on this team. Ayuk is team Trey. Kittle is team Jimmy. I think they all want to work it out. But if they start off 0-2, God knows, man.
That's a doomsday scenario if all those guys went to Kyle and they said all those things.
I'm not saying it'll happen. I think they're going to win the first 2 games. I think they're going to look good.
I don't think it'll happen either, but selfishly, because they want to win, would be stunting the growth of this guy that the 49ers, they don't like need him to be productive. They need this pick to hit. They need this to be the franchise quarterback. So 1 year of doing that to him for you to chase a championship while ultimately stunting the growth of the franchise quarterback that you need to hit. You need to hit on this. This isn't second round picking Colin Kaepernick. This is like you took Alex Smith with the first pick. You needed that to hit. Didn't happen. Yeah. You moved up for Trey Lance. You need this to hit. Yeah. This can't just be like, he was all right. Yeah, it was all right. He needs to hit.
And they keep talking like, well, it worked with Steve Young and Joe Montana. Brought out the best in him. Those are 2 of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I hate that comparison because these are 2 quarterbacks who right now we would have to call mediocre. Trey's inexperienced. Jimmy's mediocre. Like, both of them are going to make a lot of mistakes. And by having the other one on the team still, it's like, well, Trey would have done better or Jimmy would have done better. It's like, no, they're both mistake-prone guys who Jimmy's, not going to improve. Trey may improve, but like, you're not getting Joe Montana or Steve Young. What you're getting is a quarterback who's getting second-guessed to death. And frankly, it happened to Jimmy last year. And I felt he deserved it because he makes the money and he's 30 and like you should be more developed than you are. But Trey, I mean, he's going to get it the same way, if not more. And he's 22. And he should be allowed to have fun. Like, if you're developing, you should be allowed to go out there, have fun with the expectation that by year 3, you might be elite. But he might be under so much pressure to not fuck up that I can't throw a pick. And he becomes Alex Smith, which is not what you want.
And, you know what I'm saying? I think a lot of the expectations are because of this roster. And I think that's really what it is. It's prime Debo, it's prime Trent, it's prime Kittle. You understand prime Warner. You understand that you have, Chris Sims, for all the things that he said, he ranked the 49ers as the number 1 roster in the league. It's hard to argue 1 through 53. And I know we're going to go through the 53. 1 through 53, that there is a more talented roster top to bottom. There's some guys that got cut from this team. They weren't cut necessarily because they were bad at football. It's because you could only keep 53 players, and that's how stacked they are. So a lot of the expectations and a lot of the things that are going to be thrown at Trey have to do with that. If this was a team that was at 3 because they lost a bunch of games and they were just like Trey Lance would have all the time in the world. But coming off of an NFC Championship game, and so many people wanted Trey to start last year, including myself. I wanted him to kick off his development. Now it's that more than anything that's adding pressures because this team is looked at as a win now loaded roster.
To me, it feels like if Peyton Manning had, like, if the Colts drafted Peyton Manning but kept Jim Harbaugh, and while Peyton Manning's having that rookie year where he's throwing 22 picks, there's conversation like, should we go back to Harbaugh? Like, no, it's Jim Harbaugh. Who cares what Peyton Manning is doing right now? Like, he could be the best quarterback ever in a couple of years. Go with it. And it's like, if you had Brett Favre or Joe Montana, I understand the hesitancy with Trey Lance. It's freaking Jimmy. It's like Jim Harbaugh. Like, you gotta just understand that having to look over your shoulder at a mediocre quarterback can only hurt your confidence. I'm not better than this guy. Like, they have to keep this. And again, I don't see it as an indictment of Trey, but what does Trey look at it as? I mean, maybe all of Trey's insecurities, he looks at as Jimmy's a physical manifestation of them. Hey, man, if I could only throw the ball a little bit more precise, he wouldn't be there. And who knows? I mean, maybe they say the right things to him, but if I were 22 and I saw this guy looking over my shoulder, it wouldn't make me more confident. It just wouldn't.
I'm going to be the optimistic one and say that I think that Trey is strong enough to overcome this. And I think that
I'm not.
Okay. I can
I'm
see.
Neurotic. I have no self-esteem, but I'm projecting that on him. Sorry.
I mean, look, he is a handsome guy, man. Like, like that's gotta say, like, look, man, I consider myself handsome. My mom does too. But like, if Jimmy Garoppolo walks in the room, I'm not as handsome as that guy. But I think that Trey's good enough to Trey's good enough to go over this. And I think that when Trey throws praise at Jimmy Garoppolo for being a big brother, and I don't think that that's lies. And I think that here's one thing that Jimmy Garoppolo has to do right now. Jimmy Garoppolo this year is auditioning for what his career will be going forward. And what I mean by that is the guy who warms up the seat for the next guy. Yep. If you can't mentor this kid right now and help him, then what would teams be trading for you for the rest of your career? Because
Alex Smith did that for Colin Kaepernick, and all of a sudden Alex Smith's stock went up. They're like, look at how good Colin Kaepernick's playing. Alex must have done something. Alex must have said something to him, And
then Alex goes to KC, and he has Mahomes sit behind a year, and guess what? He had to move on. Again, Jimmy
Best
Garoppolo,
quarterback coach in the league, Alex Smith.
Jimmy Garoppolo is going to have to show that, and he is going to be the bridge quarterback for guys who are warming up the seat.
Is it too early to fire Brian Griese and hire Alex Smith? He's so rich. He doesn't want to do that.
I don't think, and also, man, some of those comments that he made towards the end when you were talking about like dysfunctional franchise, I don't think Alex Smith has any desire to
work for
return
York again.
Or to run. No. I think that he's if anybody's got PTSD, it's Alex Smith. But I do think that Jimmy Garoppolo has to show organizations, hey, I can mentor your kid without being selfish. I can do everything that I can to put my arm around this guy because you are going to be the ultimate bridge quarterback going forward for every other franchise you play for.
Angel Reyes says, Grant, ask Kyle if Trey will get the same leash as Jimmy if the Niners start 3-5 like last year. So that's the thing. When the Niners started 3-5, I don't feel like there were a bunch of players in the locker room going up to Kyle being like, we got to go to the rookie who's 21 years old because everyone loves Jimmy. Now, if they're even 0-1, if they're losing at halftime of the first game, what is this? What is George going to say? What is Debo going to say? It's different. That's all I'm saying.
Here's the thing, too, and you were in Chicago. Again, I'll state it for the 100th time. Halftime, Trey Lance comes out, helmets on, warming up. The offense was not clicking at that point. Deebo Samuel catches a tunnel screen, takes it to the
third and freaking 20.
Saves Jimmy Garoppolo's job.
If he only gains 18 yards, Trey Lance might have replaced him, but he gains 84.
Yep. Yeah. And completely turns around the season.
But that was all Jimmy on that play.
I mean, you can't.
The way he motivated him in the huddle before the play, he was like, Debo, I believe in you.
You can't quantify that jawline on that play. Like there's no metric for it. But
they locked eyes, time stopped.
Even at 3-5, right there, that was the end of Jimmy's leash too. It was getting there. It was right there. So again, where is the leash? I don't know, but halfway through that Chicago game, it was getting ready to be taken off. So, let's just talk about that.
Yeah, I'm not concerned. I think Kyle has the right idea here.
Yes.
I'm concerned about the leaders of the team who think that, I don't know. But again, maybe I'm misjudging George. George, Let's see what you got this year.
Real quick, Grant, too. Like when you asked that question, because I was on the conference call as well, too. Yeah, no, on the conference call. I was on the call too. I love that they were like, "All right, Grant, answer your question," and then he was like, "Get your Twitter figures ready," and he was like, "Brock Purdy made a 50." We all were like, "Oh, like Brock Purdy made a 53." I was like, "Damn, is this what like they know it's Grant on the phone?" And they're just like, "All right, Grant, get your question out, man."
I know, and even afterward, Kyle was like, "Oh, I just wanted to take your question because I wanted to mess you up, so you were the last person to tweet it." I was like, "I didn't tweet it at all."
I know.
I'm the guy that doesn't tweet everything.
So like I'm sitting there on the conference call, and like I just flipped out right into Twitter. I was like, once he said he was like, "Let's see who could tweet it fast enough," I was like, "Oh, here we go!" And then he dropped the bomb. That was Brock Purdy. I love it. That's good.
That's the first time he ever used my name ever.
The dynamic between you two is so good, and I can't wait to continue to be on these calls and watch press conferences and things like that to see.
It's a lot of fun because I feel like when I start asking a question, he thinks I'm trying to get him. And I'm not like 90% of the time, but sometimes I am. And he's like on his toes for he's like, okay, all right, you're not messing with me, but you might. I'm like, yeah, I might, man. We're not friends.
Right.
His daddy says, is backup Jimmy worth the potential circus this causes? Well, that's what we're essentially talking about right now. Stats asked the wrong question. It's not about media fans making noise. See, that's I agree with that. But no, I think it's both. It's freaking both. It's all noise. And it's rough if the locker room basically loses confidence in him. Last week, I asked George Kittle, like, how's this Trey Lance offense going? And he had the whole time he had this like, well, you know, we need some more practice, and he just didn't seem very enthusiastic. And I just wonder,
I would ask a question to this because there's been whispers about the locker room last year with the trade package. The trade package went away pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Was that because
they've been doing something for 5 years on offense, and they do it pretty well. Now they're going to do something totally different. If they look like they don't do it well, a lot of people might be like, why are we doing this? Why are we running this?
The locker room probably said, hey, man.
Why are we running the triple option and looking stupid when we can just run outside zone and look good like last 5 years? See what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. All Niners says, how many games does Trey deserve to prove himself?
He needs the whole year. He needs prove yourself is not quantifiable by games. It's not quantifiable by seasons. And there's never going to be a time where like
quarterback is until he started like 50 games. I mean, frankly.
Right. And it's not going to be a game number that's going to be like, you know what? He proved himself. Like, it's not going to work like that. So it's so strange when I'm not trying to like pile on this question. I'm just saying we will not know what Trey Lance is fully until 3 years. It's not going to be 1 year. It's not going to be 2 years. I think after the third year, if they're patient enough, that's when we'll have a firm grasp of what Trey Lance is.
But I'm not sure they're going to be patient enough. I mean, you could say that Trey's in the greatest situation ever because the coaching staff and the players, but the other edge of that sword is that there's just a ton of pressure. And there's no like, oh, well, he can have a year or two. Like with most quarterbacks. Nah, sorry, bud. You got to be good right now, even though you haven't really played much in the last 2-3 years. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So we'll see. He might just kill it. Flav says, according to Kyle Shanahan timeline, Kyle said Jimmy was the best quarterback since Young, while also hoping Jimmy would stay. Now, I think he was hoping to get Jimmy to stay when he made those comments, not trade him. What do you think?
I think that goes back to like our questions about the evaluator that Kyle Shanahan is, if Jimmy was the best since Young, because I disagree with that. But I don't know. I think that in the back of his mind, he always wanted Jimmy to stay as a backup quarterback. I think he said so a lot yesterday in the conference call, and he just thought that there was no chance, just the same way I did. So, I mean, it's hard for me to say, but based on his comments yesterday, it sounded like, it got to a point where he was like, man, we have no deals on the table. He has no opportunity. Why don't we just go ask? And he was just like, all right, yeah, you know what? I'll take some money.
Yeah, when it kept being reported that the Niners like were holding out for a day 2 pick or this or that, it's just like, how much do you really want to trade Jimmy Garoppolo if you're asking for way too much? It's like having a garage sale and then putting your guitar out there and asking for $2,000. It's like, you don't really want to sell that. You're not going to get that. You're not emotionally ready to part with that guitar yet, even though you put it on your lawn and thought you were. That's the way I looked at it. It's like, you can ask for a second round pick. You're not going to get it. So you don't really want to trade him. That's the way I always looked at it.
I think that right now with this contract and the potential of Jimmy Garoppolo staying on this roster and what they could get has actually kind of upped the ante for the offer, right? Like, and I think that you have a segment on this, so I'll expand on that when we get to it. But yeah, there is a way that they can actually sneakily get more than they ever thought they could, especially on the open market during the season if things fall their way.
Sounds good. Sean O'Leary says, from a roster talent perspective, I get it, but you're inviting national and local media to play what if all year in what is effectively Trey's rookie year. Too much noise to shut out talented, smart, and mature, or no. Yeah, I just don't think it's the ideal. If you're saying the ideal way to develop a project quarterback, I don't think it's this. Although I'm open-minded. Maybe I'm wrong. It's easy to second guess Kyle because he hasn't done it yet.
Right. And that's the thing is it is going to be outside noise. I don't necessarily think that the locker room is going to be like that at all in any way. And that's the thing is Kyle is betting on the culture and the locker room and that he's built to block all that out. And I think Trey is smart enough to block it out. And I think that Jimmy is just fine where he's at right now because he's just biding his time. Basically, what the 49ers have done is opened up his trade window and made him more attractive with that contract more than anything and how much he's actually going to cost. Hey, really? Sorry, I'm babysitting. I'm not babysitting. It's my daughter. But yeah, it's less about the national and local media. Like you have just opened it up so they can just continue to create segments on Undisputed and First Take and all those things. Like speak for yourself about it. But if you're not prepared for it, then you should have weighed that. That's going to be my thing with Kyle Shanahan. I do not want to see him roll his eyes or give a snarky response to any Jimmy question. You had to know this was going to happen. You had to factor this in when you made this decision.
Right. You can't control the media's narrative. You can't control the questions you asked. You can control your locker room, although I don't think you can. But I mean, there is a little bit of arrogance with Kyle. He thinks he can do anything and sort of control how people are going to perceive it. You can't. I mean, this is a very controversial thing, and some people are going to run with it, and you got to just be steadfast and not roll your eyes. Anyway, Michael, got your donation. Thank you. In terms of your question, we'll see. Anything's possible. Appreciate you. Let's move on. Hold on, one more. Lucky Luis says, think our D-line is better now than last year.
Yes. I do.
Yes, I would think so too.
Javon Kinlaw is going to play. I mean, DJ Jones is not somebody that you can just say, oh, whatever. But I think if Javon Kinlaw plays 17 games, we're looking at a very good line. Keeping Eric Armstead inside. I think the Kerry Hyder edition on the 53 is more about him playing inside. Or Menahue, Ebukam have been playing much better at the end of the year. I really do think that they've got something here with this D-line.
Yeah, we'll see. They need to replace Arden Key, but I'm sure they will. He was a key cog down the stretch, but again, I'm sure they will. Last Jimmy question. Do you think Jimmy Garoppolo is still on the trade market?
Yes, I do. And I think that deal with all the incentives and all the in-game bonuses and he gets $500K if he plays a playoff game and they win, $500K if they win the NFC Championship, $1 million if they win the Super Bowl. All of those things are to entice a team that either loses their quarterback during the year before the trade deadline or forces somebody to pay up for a quarterback that they don't believe in. And this is what I was talking about, right? If Jimmy Garoppolo walks, they get a comp third, right? But if you're the 49ers,
if they let more people walk than they sign in free agency, which they've been pretty committed to doing the last few years, they love their comp picks. But yes,
that's
yes.
a good fine print right there, right?
Yeah.
But if you're betting on that third round comp pick, nobody better come to the table with anything less than a third for Jimmy Garoppolo at this point.
And no one's coming to the table with anything more than a third for Jimmy Garoppolo. So where's he going, right? Yeah.
But what if a team that is playoff bound? What if Jameis Winston gets hurt again, right? Are you going to leave it in Andy Dalton's hands? Now you may have to come up off of 2. So I do think that it opens up a little bit more if you're desperate, like, and you want to make sure that your team.
Dude, if they get a second round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo, I will drive down to the Niners and find John Lynch and shake his hand. I will shake his hand.
Right. So at worst, if everything falls right, you're going to get a third round comp. Don't show up with a fourth round pick in your deal, and you better at least start with a third. And you know what? If you're really desperate, you may be able to squeeze a second out of a roster or a team that isn't thinking things clearly. And realize, hey, it's $6 million right here, whatever, and then we could bring him back or something like that. But those are the possibilities that have opened up.
Take advantage of a team with beer goggles?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I mean, the damn Cleveland Browns.
It's 1:45 in the morning. Oh, my God, it's Jimmy Garoppolo. He was phenomenal.
The Cleveland Browns are paying 4 different quarterbacks to play in like 3 different places. So, like, it doesn't mean that anything is off the table at this point. And I do think that they were biding their time by putting this out there this way. They have till October, at least until to get something done. And who knows what will happen.
Thanks, Jack Jackson. Yeah, the reason I asked the question is like the way Kyle Shanahan talked about it yesterday in the conference call is like, we need him as a backup quarterback. Like the backup is so, and yeah, I get that. But so does that mean you won't trade him? So I don't think so. So when he says all this stuff about, it's great to have him and we need to strengthen our room and we need a backup. Yeah, until a team offers you the right offer, and then you're like, hey, see ya, thanks. And again, that's why I feel like this is not an indictment of Trey. If they get the right offer tomorrow, he's gone, and they'll just roll with Brock Purdy. So, or
Josh Johnson was just released. Played pretty well. Played pretty well. Played pretty well in Baltimore last year. Hey, never know. Somebody who could just step onto the practice squad and just be there because You roll into a part with, hey, you got your second round pick, but you roll in with you roll in with Trey and Brock Purdy. Things are gonna get a little hairy if Trey Lance, and that's no slight at Brock Purdy. I think he played well. He played way better than I thought. But yeah, I think that he's like Nick Mullins all over again, basically, who can move a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see. The Niners may just keep him as insurance, but if a team gets desperate, maybe they'll get a second round pick.
The Jaguars have claimed JaMychal Hasty.
Trent Baalke loves taking, because I think Trent Baalke, there's a lot of his, scouts he hired are here, and he must trust them, see things the same way. I like JaMychal Hasty.
He's all right. He's a good route runner. He's a good change of pace back, but give me Jordan Mason, man. Give me Jordan Mason, man. Jordan Mason.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Niners made the right call. But Trey Sermon? Trey, you better show something. You better make the Niners right on this one, because I just haven't seen it with you. It's been 2 years. Hasty.
Well, they're trying to make their pick work, and they're gonna do their best to make sure that it looks good for them.
Same with Aaron Banks, in my opinion. Flav says can't convince me that you think Trey is MA, but you don't drop Jimmy months ago and use that money to put around. KS said what he had to yesterday.
MA?
Can't convince me that you think Trey is,
man
ready, but you don't drop Jimmy months ago.
I think that they've been saying it the entire time about, you don't get rid of good quarterbacks. Some teams don't even have one. We've got, he said 3 when he was talking about Nate Sudfeld at the time, right before at the owners meeting. I don't know. I mean, I can't convince me that Trey is, I guess the man is what he's trying to say. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Look, they were slow playing this the entire time. The surgery clearly threw a monkey wrench into everything. And I feel like at the end of the day, they scrambled here at the end. They said they were talking about it for a month.
Right.
That's something that they were talking that he said on the conference call.
And they're adamant that they would have traded him with it if they didn't have this surgery.
Yeah,
adamant.
Absolutely.
He would have been gone.
Yeah. So again, taking him for what it is, I think we need to stop saying that Kyle Shanahan just said what he needed to say. Kyle Shanahan says what he means.
The man. Gotcha, Flav. Gotcha. Yep. Lucky Louise says, what's wrong with Brunskill? I think he plays week. He's hurt. Been hurt. Still rehabbing. McGlinchey's back. Brunskill's not.
Right.
Okay.
They need him now.
All right. Enough
Jimmy
for today.
Yes. Thank God.
What do you think? What was the best thing the Niners did with their 53?
You know what I'm going to say? Jordan Mason, baby. Jordan Mason.
I was
so
love it. Happy.
Yeah, me too, man. I mean, look, we were at camp. Every single day, he was the most consistent back every single day. If he got 3 reps, if he got 5 reps, if he got 12 reps, he did his thing every time he was asked to do something.
You rarely see him get stood up at the line of scrimmage at practice. He's always down the yeah.
And pass pro. And he was actually better catching the ball than I thought. But what really stuck out to me is like Trey Sermon had a good day. TDP will have a good day. Elijah Mitchell will have a good day. Every day that Jordan Mason was on the field was a good day. So yes, I'm happy right now. Now, at the cost of who at this point, I think, we'll talk about some of the things that I didn't like, but I did like that move, at least with that. And with the offensive line, I felt that was probably the best way to go. They weren't going to get rid of Jalen Moore. Right. School was done at this point. I don't know how much the injury zapped, whatever it is that he had. He actually contributed a bunch of 2019. A lot of people forget that. But yeah, it felt the way if it shook out. Oh, no, this is a complaint. So I'll keep that to myself. But it's Jordan Mason for me. Best.
We'll do the complaints next. I'm glad that they kept 5 running backs. I don't think they've ever done that on this team. Mm-hmm. And every year they go through all their running backs, they get hurt. This is a team that wants to run more than they throw. You should have 5 running backs and 5 wide receivers. I like that. But Jordan Mason,
and 4 tight ends. Tight ends. They're going to run the shit out of the ball this year. Yes. Like if you thought they ran the ball last year, they're going to run the ball more this year. Way more.
Yeah. Yeah. And like with Mason, like I felt you could see it in practice. Then he did in games. And I think he got really high PFF grades. And the secret was out. And you knew he had a good chance when the Niners brought him to the podium last week.
Yep.
Because usually if you're trying to sneak a guy to practice squad, you don't put him in front of reporters and be like, hey, this is our guy. We really like him. So as soon as he got the podium day, I was like, okay, nice, Jordan. I think he probably made the team. And he did.
And the organization's not shy about telling people, stop writing about people, stop tweeting about this player. Like, they're not shy about that. Right. Like, they will, like, call you up and say, stop talking about this player. Stop tweeting about this player. True. Like, it's happened. Yeah. A lot. Us lowly people have gotten that call. Like, hey, stop tweeting about this player. Stop talking about him. Don't write that article.
And some people may think, like, hey, Jordan Mason, yeah, he's a good story, but who cares? He's the 5th on the depth chart. Wait a second. It doesn't matter how young you are, where you were taken. Like last year coming into this season, I thought Elijah Mitchell was like 4th on the depth chart. Turns out he was 2nd and then 1st by the end of week 1. So he's going to see who's effective. And when Jordan Mason gets his opportunity, he's going to be effective. So Trey, you better bring it right. Trey Sermon, you better bring it right away. Everyone, because once this guy gets his opportunity, it's going to be hard to keep him off the field. That's my word.
And I think that he's the true 3-down back for this team. He could do it all. Like, he doesn't have to come off the field in any way. And I think that Elijah Mitchell, while he exceeds in the running game, he sometimes struggles in the pass game. Trey Sermon can't catch really. TDP actually has pretty good hands, but you know what he is a bit of a bruiser. I think that Jeff Wilson is somebody that is probably closer to that 3-down role, but you don't want to do that to him because of his injury. But I think Jordan Mason is the real 3-down back on this team. And if he is pressed into duty where he has to turn into a workhorse, he can do it.
You said duty. Sorry. So I'm looking. Remember, Alfred Moore, 6th-round pick, had a huge rookie year for Washington back when Kyle Shanahan was there. The year before, they drafted Roy Halou. Like, no one really expected Alfred Morris to just become a huge workhorse right away, and he did. So I don't think Kyle cares that he's inexperienced. If he can do what he did in the preseason, he's going to draft Jordan Mason. If you're a fantasy football player, it's a nice little stash.
You can stash him. I think, yeah. I don't think you got to draft him just yet because there's going to be people that are like, oh, I still want CDP. Like, if this is quick fantasy football blurb. Like, if you draft somebody who's suspended or out, throw them in your IR and maybe just take Jordan Mason and throw him at the bottom of your bench if you have an extra spot. I'm with that.
Oh yeah, Danny Gray sleeper. Why entertain? First of all, Danny Gray sleeper as a rookie. I don't know how many targets he's going to get.
He'll get his opportunities. He's just going to have to make the most out of them. They'll move him around in formation because he unfortunately can't get off press right away. Like, so they're going to put him in motion.
Put him in the slide, put him in motion.
Get him moving. Yeah. So, like, and they'll get him the ball in a simple way. So, I mean, sleeper in terms of what? I mean, this team is going to take a decrease in pass attempts. I think that is very clear. And other 3 guys got to eat, man. So, I don't know. Danny Gray's probably going to get like maybe 50 targets, maybe.
Oh, I don't know about that, but hold on. I think the targets he get will be down the field. I think there's probably every game plan every week will be Kyle having his mind, I'm going to take a shot to Danny at some point, maybe 3rd quarter, whenever. I think he'll do that every week. I don't know how, I don't think they're like really developing him right yet as a complete receiver. It's like, we want you to do a specific role right now. And every practice would have one deep throw to Danny Gray. So I would think every game will have one deep throw to Danny Gray too. So that's
especially situationally. If it's 3rd and 16, 3rd and 17, if it's 3rd and 5, I could see Juwan Jennings being on the field. If it's 3rd and 7, 3rd and up like that, then yeah, why not? He's got to be used that way.
Also, I think we've seen Kyle on 3rd down with Trey. Instead of forcing him to throw these passes into traffic over the middle, he calls deep shots. They're low percentage throws, but on 3rd down, they're open. You get a lot of single high coverage, and he hit one for a touchdown the first preseason game. The other one, he did hit Deebo Samuel between the numbers. It just wasn't caught. So I think we're going to see Kyle call those type of passes.
Yeah, you'll see more. You'll see more deep shots with less pass attempts. And to his question, why entertain bringing Tart back? Yeah. Jimmy Ward's injured for 4 games. I'm hearing it's closer to 6 weeks now at this point. Do you
sounds like a grade 3
tear,
which is like 3 months. Yeah.
So when you're looking at, the first 2 opponents don't necessarily scare you, right? The Bears and the Seahawks, even if they have Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, it's who's throwing them the damn ball. Mm-hmm. Denver, LA, all of these other teams that you're going to have to cover. Yeah. Are you really about to sit there and say that you're cool with George Odom and Hufanga out there? Like, they should entertain.
What do they have, 10 starts between them?
Right. But Tart's not coming back. Tart's not coming back. So let's.
I thought he would. You have that cryptic, everything comes full circle. What happened?
No. If I could close the book on anything, we're closing the book on this. And I think that it's not that the 49ers probably haven't thought about it. Is that he probably doesn't want to be here. And that's the best way I could put it.
Interesting. Well, Good luck to Tart. Hope he gets another opportunity this year. Flav says, who will end up getting the 2nd most carries? Who would you take as Mitchell's handcuff? It's going to be, obviously it's going to be Deebo and Jeff Wilson at first. But Jeff Wilson gets hurt. Mitchell gets hurt. Once Mason gets his chance, I don't think Ty Davis Price or Sermon are going to do much this year with their chances. Although they may force Sermon. I think they want Ty Davis Price to be the goal line back. I think they
or the short yardage guy. Yeah. I think
I'm not sure he's better than Jordan Mason in that role. We'll see. He ran sideways in one of the games on 4th and 1.
I think Mason by like week 4, week 5 is going to have a carved out role. Honestly,
I think so too. I think so. I like Jeff Wilson Jr. a lot, though. He looks like he's in
Me too.
terrific shape.
Me too. And he's a very good pass pro guy. So don't discount Kyle Shanahan's trust.
And a hell of a receiver. I love Jeff Wilson Jr. He just runs upright and gets licked.
Yeah.
What's the worst thing the Niners did with their 53?
It's not Kamiko Toure, just because I was shocked that happened, the Kamiko Toure thing, just because I thought for a fact that there was going to be one of these Arden Key things. But I think, again, that shows you that Kerry Hyder's going to have to play inside now. And that's the plan that they have for him. They just got too many edge guys. Also, if I want to spin it in a positive way, it's because Drake Jackson's a fucking baller. And that's really like where it's popping out. And they're really, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to drop the F-bomb on here.
That's okay.
All right.
Sorry.
Yeah. So I think it's a good thing when it comes to that. Worst thing the 49ers did, and this is going to be a shock to some people, or something that I disagree with, Malik Turner not making this roster is a little bit shocking. And here's why. Obviously, as a receiver, you guys don't know much about him, right? But he's fast down the field. He's actually played for the Seahawks and Cowboys, but the special teams thing. And I thought that this was a big emphasis for this team in terms of Oren Burks is here for that reason. George Odom's here for that reason. Malik Turner, and this is what I want to point to in the Minnesota game, made one of those penalties that, Kyle Shanahan would send somebody to the shadow realm for. But what did he do? He came back on special teams and forces the fumble that was picked up by Samuel Womack. You have to be able to contribute. And that's what I get on Trey Sermon about. It's not about, is the run game clicking? Are you dropping passes? Do something right. Pass pro, you missed the blitz. Pass pro, catch the ball, or gain yards. When you're not doing any of those
things. Do you do anything on special teams?
Right. When you're doing none of those things now, it's either showing that you're inept, which I don't think you are, or you're not putting in the effort. And that's what Malik Turner kind of showed. When Malik Turner made that play, I was like, well, he's going to make this roster. But he didn't make it. I going into this season right now with Ayuk, Samuel, Ray, Juwan Jennings, and Danny Gray, I'd still like to see one more guy just in there who's actually played in the league just a little bit more, just because I don't know, man, I had this. That one's crispy. I like it.
Nice.
But I would like to have Malik Turner in there just for his experience and the way that he can contribute on special teams.
The cut that killed me was Jason Poe, but he's going to make it to the practice squad, isn't he?
I think so. Yeah, I think that a lot of people have the same criticism of him in terms of he's too small. One thing is I think that led to his demise on this team and is what kept somebody else Nick Sakel around. Is Nick Sakel can play multiple positions. Jason Poe is an inside guy only. And I think that's kind of what led to his downfall. But Jason Poe was very impressive. You dream about the things that Kyle Shanahan can do with him. I think he'll make it back to the practice squad.
He better, because I think he's the truth. I'm not a scout or anything, but man, I'm really, really curious to see what Aaron Banks looks like in an extended look, because I don't know. I haven't been impressed with him at all, but he hasn't played much at all. It's been very, very few brief stints. So I don't know. I'd like to see with Aaron Banks what that's
week one is going to be basically an extended preseason game for some stretches where you're going to be like, what is this offense doing? They're still trying to figure it out. They're still trying to be cohesive. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to hold off my judgment on Aaron Banks until we get to the real games. Definitely a concern. It's
the whole Trey Sermon and Ambry Thomas are two guys that made this team because they were third round picks last year. It's like, okay, like you better show something, because better players got cut for you to stay here. And like, I know some teams are quick to cut a third round pick if they think they're wrong about them. The Niners aren't necessarily that team. So they have at least two guys in this team right now that I feel are just here because of their draft spot, and they need to show something.
Yeah. And look, it's a good discussion about,
like, JaMychal Hasty's gone because you kept a guy who hasn't shown anything yet, but might eventually.
Yeah. Right. So like, it's a good case study about sunken costs and knowing when to get things done, or hard-headedness. And I picked them in the third round. I've got to show you that I can get something out of it. It's like when you kind of know, but it's clear that they don't want. I never thought that Trey Sermon was going to be cut, by the way. Like, I never once thought that.
I didn't think he would. GMs don't do that to their own resume. It's like they don't do
just because of this third round pick. Like, you have to make something work, So I don't necessarily think that he was.
If Dante Pettis got, what did he get, 3 years, 2 years? Then Trey Sermon's going to get a couple. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. All right, let's talk about Trey Lance. A lot of scrutiny on him. We just talked about how he's going to get second guessed to death. Let's do a little second guessing. But I'm trying to think about it as like a coach in a positive way. If you were his coach and this is your project, what would you want to focus on, and what would you focus on to make sure that he reached his incredibly high ceiling?
It would probably be something along the lines of accuracy and ball placement. Let me explain those. Completion percentage doesn't denote accuracy. And what I mean by that is, not all catches are equal. If
Right.
a quarterback throws a ball at your ankles and he catches it, technically that's a completion, but that's not accurate. I need you in this offense, which is yak yards, everything, to put the ball exactly where it needs to be. Right here, and let your
If
guy
it's a
go.
slant, you put it 1 yard in
Right.
front. If it's a
So-
comeback route, you put it between the number. Like, yeah, all that kind of stuff. Can you do
Right.
that?
Right. Downfield accuracy it's still the hardest throw to hit, right? And the guy who hit it the most was Josh Allen at a 41% clip. That means 4 out of 10 times he hit those downfield throws, and he's considered one of the better deep ball throwers. So it's not a high percentage throw. So forget that part. Those are going to be hit. It's about the little, and I keep going back to the Houston game. It's like this is the tale of Trey Lance's season right here, capsulated in 2 plays. The play action play where he turns and Juszczyk standing at the sticks. Ball is right in Juszczyk's chest.
Mhm.
And he turns and he gains more yards. First down.
Mhm.
Next play, he rolls out and he sees Ayuk and he tries to throw across his body. And that thing comes out like a frisbee and just lands like 5 yards in front of him.
Yep.
That's going to be the tale of Trey Lance throughout the season.
Yep.
You'll get the one throw, you're like, there it is. You'll get the other throw and you'll say, what the hell was that?
Right.
Yeah, what was that? So that's
that's intriguing about Lance to me, because it shows that he does it right some of the time. It's not like he's a freaking mess that just has his own way of doing things and he's never gonna. He does it right a lot of the time. Now it's just about doing it right all the time.
Right. And
all the time.
One more thing that I want to point out that's a positive is a lot of people were discussing this throw to Deebo Samuel that a lot of people think is PI. He literally did what you are taught to do as a quarterback. And this is a kid who is not played football that long in the NFL. If you look and you have a concept on the left and you have your go route one-on-one with no press up top with your best receiver, you take that shot. You know who doesn't take that shot? Jimmy Garoppolo.
I like the decision. I like the throw.
Yeah.
You know, if you've been a lot of people don't know, but they've been trying to work on the fade from Lance to Deebo all offseason, and it hasn't been there. Lance keeps overthrowing him in practice. Deebo, I don't think, is quite where he was last year yet. So Lance made an adjustment. He took a little off. I mean, he hit Deebo. Deebo wasn't streaking past Steven Nelson. I mean, there was a very small window to hit that, and I thought it was a pretty good throw. Maybe not perfect.
So completion percentage, that's an incomplete pass, but that's an accurate throw.
And a good decision.
Right? And a good decision. Again, stop throwing these completion percentage numbers at me, man. It is not quantify where this kid is right now in his steps, man. Like, that's the part that bothers me the most.
I'm with you, though. He needs to improve his accuracy, and I think, like, everyone knows that. But I don't think that Brian Griese necessarily has the answers. And to me, it's the fix is all footwork. When I look at him, it's a footwork thing from the ball placement to the wobble to the arm fatigue. And here's what I see. He has a tendency sometimes to overstride and lock out his front leg, which causes the ball to sail high. He doesn't do it all the time. And he's actually doing a good job of fixing it. If all he needs is that front foot to be soft and flexed and bent at first when he transfers his weight. Second thing, you can see this in the slow motion stuff. He doesn't always step to his target. So let's say he throw in left. He will have his body, his lower body pointed forward. And so he's throwing crossfire, which his lower body and upper body aren't really in sync. If they were, he'd be great. And when they're not, it's going to lead to arm fatigue and erratic ball placement. What happens when your lower body and upper body aren't in sync, your brain will correct mid-throw with your arm. And that'll lead to pain, soreness, injury eventually. So if he could just go to Jordan Palmer and get like a 3D mapping of his mechanics and just fine-tune it, because he's already on the way, he'll be Josh Allen. He can do it. It's fixable. Jimmy's problems are not fixable. Hey, throw downfield and be mobile and make better decisions. Never going to happen. Trey can do this. He just needs a good coach.
I don't want to be negative, but I don't think Brian Griese is that coach to help.
I don't think he's that guy either.
But here's what Brian Griese is brought here for. Here's what he's brought here for. He's brought here to help him with the mental aspects and understanding what you're seeing, because that's all Kyle Shanahan talked about with Brian Griese was how smart he was and everything. And I think that's really where he is helping Trey Lance is when you see that alert route, when you see that one-on-one, okay, what is the defense giving you? You take that shot. And I think pre-snap, Brian Griese is helping him with that.
Sure.
I don't necessarily believe that he's here to help him with footwork or mechanics.
But Kyle would say, like, people be like, Kyle, how do you help a quarterback with his throwing mechanics? He's like, well, I don't really do that, but we do talk about footwork. Okay, Kyle, well, this is perfect. One thing that a good drill, I think, for Trey is throw the ball, finish your release, and then it's called walking off your throw. You finish, now walk to where your lower body is pointing and tell me if that's where you threw the ball. because that actually drills it into his brain. Like, man, you got to sync these up. You're actually not pointing your lower body towards your target all the time. That's an easy way to fix it, man. I think his issues are super fixable. Super fixable.
And in the same regard, there's times where you look at his footwork and you look at the
And
groin, you're like, there it is, and there it is.
Good.
Like, it's just up and down right now. It's just inconsistent, and that's just going to be part of the growing pains right now.
Yeah, again, it's not like Kaepernick where it's like, man, you got so many years of bad muscle memory ingrained. You're never going to. Trey is ingraining it right now, and he's just on the path. He just needs focused, good coaching. This is what we're drilling every freaking day. That's all you got to do.
And that'll come. I mean, again, you can't just automatically lock onto the bad while dismissing the good footwork that he has on many of his throws. That's the other thing as well, too. It's like so many people.
Remember, he's from a small town, okay? Yeah. He didn't have all the – compare him and Josh Rosen, okay? Josh Rosen went to every freaking camp from like 13 years old on. He was a 5-star recruit. He has perfect mechanics. He's a terrible quarterback. If Trey Lance had that type of – development in middle school and high school, he would have been a 5-star recruit. He would have went to any school he went to, and he would be more mechanically developed by now. Josh Allen was the same way. He didn't have that upbringing. It happened to him in his 20s. He was still good enough to figure it out. I think Trey can too. He's just a little bit behind.
And I think all of those things that you mentioned are the reason that I'm so high on Trey's mental, because he's got that whole like me against the world. You guys didn't want me. I'm going to work my ass off because he's had to, right? He hasn't had anything handed to him. So again, mentally tough. That's the part that I'm going to point to. And that's why I think this whole him and Jimmy thing isn't going to be nearly as big of a deal as the media will portray it to be.
I want to give Brian Griese credit. Like last week, I put out the video being like, boom, the issue with the high passes is the footwork. It's his leg. It's his front leg. The entire last week, they worked on footwork in practice, in the drills. An entire week. So I appreciate, because Scangarello would do the same drills every day. I don't care. Do the same freaking drills every day. Griese's like, okay, let's try to fix it. So his heart's in the right place. He's just waiting for us to tell him what to do. So Brian, now you got to work on the front, on stepping towards his target. That's because he has a little bit of tendency to crossfire, throwing to his left, not right. So Brian, I'm trying to help. Quality control.
Scangarello didn't want Trey. He wanted Max. So that's why he was just like, I don't care. I'm not going to help
motions. Yeah. That's another thing. I feel like last year was a wasted year for Trey. So too bad. He should have been working with Brian Griese last year. You know what I mean? Or whoever.
Right.
Like all the stuff he learned from what's his face. Is that applicable anymore? Flav says Jimmy's story has been so big, but the real story right now is Lance versus Fields. Not a big enough deal being made about this. It's a really big game for both. Fields had a nice third preseason game, right?
He's had a really nice preseason.
I really like him.
All right. We might as well talk about this. Yeah. Obviously, I wanted Justin Fields. Clearly. Yes. I was absolutely fine, though, with Trey Lance, right? Like, in fact, if you remember, and we go back and we trace coast-to-coast history lesson, I first came to you about Trey Lance. And when we were on the show, I was like, yo, I like Trey. Yeah. Did a little digging, started watching Justin Fields, and I was like, damn. I was like, I want that kid because I felt that he was ready to play sooner, right? Last year, he would have had
than Trey. He's also a better athlete than Trey.
I don't want to get too excited.
Trey's a great athlete, but Justin Fields is faster and more accurate.
Look, here's the reason that this game is going to go the 49ers' way. They're coached better. They got a better team. That wide receiver 4 room of
Dante
Pettis and Byron Pringle, and like it's like the best wide receiver 4 room you've ever seen in your life. Doesn't necessarily strike fear in me, especially if Emmanuel Mosley and Charvarius Ward play. Justin Fields is going to show strides, and he should, because he has a new coach. But I really wish that they would have picked a coach that was offensive minded. Eberflus is more defense, so it's like. But at the same time, man, it's hard for me to not look at the strides that Justin Fields taking and say, damn, what if?
The one thing with Justin Fields is he tends to get sacked a lot.
I
mean, so does Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson. Doesn't mean he's not good, but I like the way Trey Lance steps up in the pocket and avoids pressure. Isn't exactly as explosive and quick. Like Justin Fields was running circles around the Niners in that game. He had that touchdown scramble was crazy. I don't think Lance is going to have plays like that, but I think he might be a better quarterback at the end.
You know why that is, right?
Why?
Justin Fields' best game in the pros was against the San Francisco 49ers. And then Darnell Mooney comes out, I think it was this week, saying that Justin Fields has payback on his mind for the 49ers passing him.
Revenge tour, Chicago Bears.
I mean, he remembered, and I think that was. I think that he felt he was going to 3. He remembers. I like it.
Good call. Josh
Yeah.
Wyatt says Ambry made the team for one reason, a season-saving INT, basically the same reason Tart was let go, but Sermon has done nothing.
Nope. Sermon was let go because they love Hufanga. I mean, Tart was let go because they love Hufanga, and he was going to start. That's it. Had nothing to do. He could have intercepted that. They could have won a Super Bowl, and they would have still told Tart to go. Sorry.
Gio says this offense is going to wear down teams this year. Kyle has totally switched up his offensive philosophy by going from a more speedy backfield to a more power run game, arm tackle galore in fourth quarter. Yeah, that's his idea, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to run the ball 30, 40 times. This defense is never going to get behind 28-0 where they could have to abandon the pass or anything like that. Again, Trey Lance is going to have his opportunities to grow. He'll have his bumps and bruises, but games are never going to be out of his reach. He's never going to get down 21-0 because the defense is getting cooked. Like, it's not going to happen.
You know what Kyle learned? That his run game isn't built to put away a game in the second half. He lost 2 big Super Bowls that he couldn't put away with his run game. Now he has a run game that's theoretically built to do just that. So give him credit. In my opinion.
I mean, and that's why Ty David Price is going to be here. That's why you're going to rotate those guys in and out, and you're going to have a bunch of fresh legs. That's why you keep 5 guys, because how many guys get injured all the time on this team? Elijah Mitchell was banged up all year. So was Jeff Wilson. Like,
Kyle never had confidence in Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman, Raheem Mostert to be those kind of guys with the lead in the second half of a Super Bowl. Theoretically, all these guys can do that. So that's good. You know?
Raheem Mostert's still fast. Shout out to him, man.
He was great in last year's preseason too. I just want to know how many games is he really going to play. Draco Pimpin says, wow, I know y'all heard about Castro and Hasty. Who else? Castro got picked up too as well?
He did. I didn't know that. And I think the 49ers actually picked up Blake Hance from Cleveland. He is a undrafted free agent. Started all 8 games last year at tackle, but is listed as guard. He allowed 31 pressures on 366 pass block attempts.
Okay. They signed a guard, but not a center. Okay.
A guard, but maybe he can play center.
Maybe he can play center too. Okay. Let's now that the season's about a week and a half away, and the NFC is wide freaking open, where do the Niners stack up? Are they the team to beat in the NFC or not? Where would you put them?
They're a top 3 team. They can be the team to beat. I mean, and I think that there's going to be weeks where that discussion becomes louder and harder to ignore, especially if the 49ers start off hot and they do what I think they're going to do, which is take care of business. The first real test is going to be week 3, home opener, Denver, on national television in Denver. That's going to be the test. That's going to be, and then the schedule gets exponentially harder from there. Like, you get LA, you get all those games in a row, kind of. First 2 games are a good soft landing for the Niners. But yeah, I mean, if they're healthy, all they have to do is get the stable level of quarterback play that they had gotten. You'll take your ups and downs with Trey Lance, but Trey Lance is going to make plays that are not in the play call and are when things are not going right. He's going to do that. He's going to make some head scratching throws. But we dealt with that with Jimmy Garoppolo. I think the defense, as long as it's healthy, is going to hold things down. And you have to trust Kyle Shanahan to coach around deficiencies. I mean, he made you believe Tom Compton was a startable right tackle for much of last year. And I do think that he's going to find a way to get around these deficiencies. And this team is going to be a top 3 team.
I think it's fair to point out, it's important to point out that the Niners may have the best defense in the NFC. They may have the best defense in the league.
So in the NFL, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, like any game they go into, their defense is going to have the advantage over the offense it's matched up against. Any game. And we saw that last year when they played the Packers and the Cowboys in the playoffs. Like, the Niners made those offenses look sick. So that's a great place for this team to be. And then we've seen in the last 5 years, as long as the quarterback isn't CJ Beathard or Brian Hoyer or Nick Mullins, the Niners tend to win. So they're not in that position. It's not going to be a stretch of Brock Purdy or Nate Sudfeld this year. So this team should win. And like, look at all the teams that are ahead of them. Like, the Bucs have been ahead of them the last couple of years. That team is falling apart.
Well, they have no offensive line.
They have no offensive line. And Gronk's gone. So I don't know about them. And then from what I'm hearing, Stafford's elbow issue is serious.
It is. It's way more serious than people are letting on. He's going to have to play with that all year.
Yeah, that's not good. And then what? The Packers and Niners beat them with Devontae Adams. Now they don't have Devontae Adams. Like, to me, I like the Niners. I like the Vikings. I like Philly. But if that's the Niners competition, like, I just saw the Niners play the Vikings. They're just as good as the Vikings. So, yeah, I think the Niners are as good as any team in the NFC right now, and they definitely could win it.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that that's a fair way to look at it. All they have to do is be healthy and show up for the games. That's it. And this defense is going to do its thing. And again, this team is not going to be playing from behind. They're not going to get down even when they play the Chiefs, even when they play the Chargers, even when they play the Bucks. They're not going to be down 28-0. Those games are still going to be relatively close because this defense is so good.
The one thing is interesting, the Eagles. The Eagles and Niners are very similar. They're both built to lead the league in rushing. They both have young dual threat quarterbacks. The difference is the Niners have Jimmy, and the Eagles don't have an expensive backup. They went and got
Minshew.
AJ Brown. Who they got?
Minshew.
Is he expensive?
I don't think so.
Well, they were able to sort of like get AJ Brown and kind of go all in with the cheap quarterback. The Niners haven't really done that yet.
They just traded for CJ Gardner-Johnson. They just got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Like, and what? All right, 49ers. I know that, like, I don't want to complain. A 6th and 7th rounder for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and you don't want to send that to help him play safety for your team this year?
That's what I'm saying. The Eagles have been much more aggressive this offseason than the 49ers. I still think the Niners are better than the Eagles, but the Eagles are good.
They are good.
They are good, and they're going to be a lot like the Niners this year. These are going to be very similar teams.
And the division stinks. They're going to beat up on Washington and the
they have a way easier schedule than the Niners.
They'll make the playoffs this year, I think. Yeah, but that that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson deal, I looked at that and I was like, "What? You guys couldn't just say, yo, I'll give you a 6th and a 7th for him? What the hell?"
It's crazy. Like, they have Jalen Hurts, and the Eagles are like, all in, and the Niners are like, let's not be hasty. We can go in next year. You know, we'll see.
We will see.
The main threat says, "What's the word on Poe?" So far, I don't think he's gotten
picked up. Yeah, I think he'll revert back. I think he'll be able to revert back.
I don't understand, man. I feel like every GM reads my practice reports. I told you. Guess not.
That's why you're quality control.
Yeah. Tell Fields to ask Rodgers about getting revenge. Rick Rude 3000 says.
Okay. Well, Rodgers just didn't get revenge on the Niners. I mean, I would say that if the 49ers drafted Aaron Rodgers, they would have probably won a Lombardi or two, I think.
What will we see from Trey versus Bears?
A lot of running and a lot of running, man. Just I mean, you got to put pressure on the back end for them. Even though they've got some really good corners, but you know, I think that you got to make those guys tackle. You got to make them come up and hit. They're just going to run the shit out of the ball, man. I mean, it's as simple as that. And if you ask me about week 2, week 3, week 4, probably give you the same answer.
Flav says, can you imagine if Fields balls in week 1, Trey plays bad, and camera panning to Jimmy all game? All of Kyle's amazing QB decisions in one location at the same time. Wonder if he thinks about this stuff. This seems like your dream, Flav. Why is this a hypothetical that you go to? Man, what if Trey sucks?
He's not wrong. He's not wrong about this because
what
Thursday night
and the Niners win a game they're supposed to win.
Yeah. No, but Thursday, if you guys watch that game on Prime Video, Kirk Herbstreit is preparing you for what you're about to see all year from every single game. Oh, how do you move on from Jimmy Garoppolo? I mean, he won all those games. I mean, why not give him another year? I mean,
how do you move on from the 23rd best quarterback in the league? I mean, how do you not give that guy another chance?
You're ready to win now. Prepare yourself, fans. That's why you should probably watch us on Get Playback, because we're not gonna be talking about that shit when we're actually calling the games or whatever. But yes, you could prepare yourself for all of that. Sunday Night Football. I forget who it is now because Al Michaels is doing Thursday Night Football. Prepare yourself. Monday Night Football. Prepare yourself. I don't know, man. I don't know about Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah, sure, they're 7-0, but man, with Jimmy Garoppolo, they'd be 8-0, even though they've only played 7 games. Like they're gonna say shit like that.
Trey Lance was 14 of 18. Jimmy would have been 15 of 18.
Right. Like you're gonna have to block out that noise as a fan. Block it out.
Yeah, that's true. And Trey, you're gonna have to block it out as a quarterback because it might be coming from your own teammates. Sometimes it's your own teammates. All right, that's the show. Thanks for watching, all Niner fans from coast to coast and international too. Appreciate the support, Jason. Thank you.
Got it, man. While I'm dadding over here, got this. Man.
Yeah, I'll be back late night with Jesse Naylor. A lot of my hosts start with J, and then I'm like Jesse Naylor, 49ers After Dark, which is before dark on the West Coast.
Yeah,
see you guys in. Later.